For decades, fans have whispered, guessed, and wondered about the truth behind Willie Nelson's past. Now, at 92, he's finally breaking his silence. And what he's revealed is more shocking than anyone ever imagined. It's not just a simple confession. It's a moment that rewrites everything we thought we knew. The rumors were true. The signs were there. And now the legend himself is confirming it all. This is the moment we've all been waiting for. Willie Nelson. Just saying his name brings up a feeling of comfort, of good music, of someone who's always been there. Like an old friend who never left. For over 60 years, he's been the voice of the open road, of heartbreak, of love, and of freedom. With his long braided hair, calm smile, and that instantly recognizable voice, Willie became more than just a country star. He became a symbol of American soul. He's seen it all, from tiny dance halls in Texas to the biggest stages in the world, from poverty to fame, from personal loss to massive success. And through all of it, he kept going, touring, singing, writing songs. Year after year, even into his 80s, he was still doing over 100 shows a year. Most people would have retired decades ago, but not Willie. But now, something's different. Willie Nelson is 92 years old. That alone is incredible. And while he's still writing music and performing, fans noticed a shift in his words. In recent interviews and in his new album The Last Leaf on the Tree, he's finally opening up about something he's never talked about in such a direct way before: aging and death. Now, to be clear, Willie's not afraid. In fact, when asked about getting older, he simply smiled and said, "I don't feel bad. I don't hurt anywhere." He even joked, "Mentally, that's another story." That's classic Willie. Always honest, always lighthearted, even when talking about something as serious as the end of life. But behind the jokes, there's something deeper. In his latest songs, there's a quiet wisdom, a sense of peace. He knows he's in the final stretch of his life, but he's not panicking. He's not looking back with regret. Instead, he's reflecting with gratitude, telling the world what it's like to be 92 and still doing what you love. And he's doing it his way. The new album, produced with his son Micah, blends old songs, new ones, and covers from artists like Tom Waits and Beck. It's not just another record. It feels like a message. A farewell letter, maybe. But not a sad one. It's full of life, warmth, and clarity. In one song, Last Leaf, Willie sings, "I'm the last leaf on the tree. The autumn took the rest, but it won't take me." That line hits different, because it's true. He is the last leaf. So many of his friends and bandmates are gone. Merle Haggard, Johnny Cash, Waylon Jennings, Chris Christopherson. All of them made history together. Now, only Willie remains. And yet, he keeps going. Not out of duty, not because he has to, but because he still loves it. Still loves being on stage, singing for people, feeling the music. That joy hasn't gone away. Maybe that's what keeps him going. Pure love for what he does. He's also talking more about legacy, about how he wants to be remembered, not just as a star or a legend, but as someone who helped people. Whether it's through farm aid, his work for small farmers, or just making someone smile with a song, Willie wants to leave behind more than music. And now, after years of letting his songs do the talking, he's finally opening up in his own words, not with drama or sadness, but with honesty and calm. He's not trying to shock anyone. He's just telling the truth. Willie Nelson is 92, and instead of fading quietly, he's giving us one more gift: his truth, his view from the mountaintop. And for fans who've followed him for decades or even just discovered him recently, it's something truly special. Because how often do we get to hear from someone who's lived this much life and is still going strong? Someone who isn't afraid to look death in the eye and smile. That's Willie Nelson. Still here, still singing, still the last leaf on the tree. Before he was a country music legend, Willie Nelson was just a small-town kid with a big dream and a guitar that barely stayed in tune. Born on April 29, 1933, in the tiny town of Abbott, Texas, life didn't exactly start out easy for him. In fact, even his birth date was recorded wrong by the doctor, off by a day. It's almost symbolic, really. From day one, Willie was just a little out of step with the rules. And that would never change. He wasn't born into fame or fortune. His parents had moved to Texas from Arkansas looking for work, like a lot of families during the Great Depression. His father fixed cars. His grandfather was a blacksmith. Life was tough, and things got even tougher when Willie's mom walked out not long after he was born. His dad didn't stick around much longer either. He remarried and moved away. So, Willie and his older sister Bobby were raised by their grandparents. Now here's where the story starts to turn. His grandparents were poor, sure, but they had something powerful. They loved music. Back in Arkansas, they'd taught shape note singing, a form of gospel music, and they passed that love of sound down to Willie and Bobby. It wasn't long before that house in Abbott was filled with music. Gospel songs, hymns, simple tunes played on a beat-up piano or a guitar with worn-out strings. That's where it all began. Willie got his first guitar at 6 years old. His grandfather taught him a few chords, and from there it was like something lit up inside him. By age 7, he'd written his first song. At 9, he was already performing with a local band. And when other kids were picking cotton in the hot Texas sun for extra money, Willie tried it too, but hated it. Instead, he found a better way. He started performing in local bars, taverns, and dance halls. By 13, he was earning money with his music. That tells you everything you need to know about who he was becoming. While most kids were still trying to figure out what they wanted to be, Willie was already on stage, microphone in hand. He was influenced by more than just gospel. He listened to everything: Jimmy Rogers, Hank Williams, even jazz legends like Django Reinhardt and Louis Armstrong. That mix of country, blues, and jazz would help shape the unique sound we all know today. It wasn't traditional, but that was the point. Willie was already starting to play by his own rules. In high school, he wasn't just the music kid. He played sports, raised pigs for the future farmers of America, and played in a band called the Texans, led by his sister's husband, Bud Fletcher. They even landed a Sunday spot on a local radio station. That kind of exposure gave Willie confidence, even if the big dream still felt far away. After graduation, he tried a lot of things. He worked as a phone operator, a saddle maker, even a tree trimmer. He joined the U.S. Air Force, but a back injury forced him to leave after just 8 months. Then he went to Baylor University to study agriculture. But that didn't last either. School couldn't compete with the pull of music. It never could. So once again, he dropped everything to chase the dream. He got married in 1952 and kept working odd jobs, selling vacuum cleaners, working in pawn shops, teaching guitar, anything to support his growing family while still making time to perform. Eventually, he moved to Pleasanton, Texas, and bluffed his way into a job as a radio DJ at K-Bop. He didn't have experience, but the station took a chance on him. That job gave him access to recording equipment, and in 1955, he recorded his first songs. The Storm Has Just Begun, and When I've Sung My Last Hillbilly Song. They got rejected by a local label, but that didn't stop him. When things didn't take off in Texas, Willie headed west, to San Diego. That didn't work out either. He ended up hitchhiking to Portland, Oregon, where his mother was living. He slept in ditches, relied on the kindness of strangers, and somehow kept going. That trip said a lot about Willie. No money, no plan, just heart and determination. He wasn't chasing fame, he was chasing purpose. In Oregon, he got back on the radio, working at KVAN in Vancouver, Washington. He played in local clubs and even got on TV. In 1956, he released his first single, No Place for Me. It didn't become a hit, but it proved he could make records. That meant something. After more bouncing around, from Colorado to Missouri and back to Texas, Willie nearly gave up. For a while, he quit music completely. He sold encyclopedias door to door, but music kept pulling him back. In 1958, after the birth of his son Billy, he gave it one more shot. On the way to Houston, he stopped at a club and tried selling his song, Mr. Record Man, for $10. The club's singer didn't buy it, but gave Willie a gig instead. That small break got him back on stage. He rented a small apartment, got another radio job, and sold 2 songs, Family Bible and Nightlife, to a local musician. One of those songs later became a hit, though not in his voice. That was the start of a pattern. Willie was writing gold, but others were getting the shine. Still, he kept writing. He moved to Nashville, hoping for a real shot. But again, record labels weren't interested in his voice. His look was too rough, his phrasing too unusual. They didn't get him, so he hung out at Tootsie's Orchid Lounge, right behind the Grand Ole Opry. That's where he met Hank Cochran, a songwriter who believed in him. Cochran helped him get a publishing deal, and suddenly everything started to change. In a small room at Tootsie's, Willie sang a song called Hello Walls. Fellow musician Farron Young heard it and decided to record it. The song became a hit. Then Ray Price recorded Nightlife. Patsy Cline's version of Crazy, written by Willie, became the biggest jukebox hit of all time. One by one, his songs were climbing the charts, just not with his name on the mic. But it didn't matter. Willie was finally breaking in. He was becoming a respected songwriter, and while his own singing career still had a long way to go, he had proven something to himself and to everyone else. He had something to say, and the world was finally starting to listen. That's how it all began. From the cotton fields of Texas, to smoky clubs in Oregon, to the bright lights of Nashville, Willie Nelson rose not because the industry welcomed him with open arms, but because he refused to give up. He carved his own path, and in doing so, he became the rebel spirit country music didn't know it needed. By the late 1960s, Willie Nelson had already been through a lot. He was finally getting noticed in Nashville, not as a singer yet, but as a songwriter. His songs were turning into hits for other people. Crazy, Nightlife, Funny How Time Slips Away. These weren't just good songs, they were classics. But something still wasn't right. Deep down, Willie felt like he was being squeezed into a box that didn't fit. He had signed with RCA Victor in 1964 and was putting out albums, but the Nashville system was strict. It had rules. Songs had to sound a certain way. You recorded with certain musicians. Producers made most of the decisions. And while Willie respected that system, he never really belonged in it. His voice was too different, too laid back. His phrasing didn't match the usual patterns, and his songs, well, they were personal, strange, and sometimes even spiritual. Nashville didn't quite know what to do with him. Still, he pushed forward. His RCA records kept him on the charts, but none of them were major hits. Behind the scenes, things were starting to fall apart. Willie's money was tied up in tours that didn't make much profit. His marriage to Shirley Colley, his second wife, ended after she found out he had a child with another woman, Connie Kepke, who later became his third wife. Then, in December of 1970, disaster struck. His ranch in Ridgetop, Tennessee, caught fire and burned down. That fire changed everything. Willie took it as a sign, a message even. He lost guitars, memorabilia, and a lot of personal things. But instead of falling into despair, he saw it as a chance to start fresh. So he packed up what he had left Nashville behind, and moved back to Texas. This time to the hill country, near a town called Bandera. With Connie and their daughter, he started a new chapter, and something amazing happened. Willie Nelson found freedom. Back in Texas, things felt different. It was the early 1970s. The music scene in Austin was exploding with color, creativity, and rebellion. Long-hailed hippies were blending rock, folk, country, and blues. They didn't care about the Nashville system. They didn't care about looking or sounding right. They just wanted to play music and live honestly. Willie fit right in. At first, it might have seemed like a strange mix, an older country star with a bunch of barefoot hippies. But Willie got it, and they got him. His shows started drawing big crowds. He was relaxed, funny, soulful. The music felt alive again. In 1973, he played at the Dripping Springs Reunion, a country festival that didn't draw a big audience, but gave Willie an idea. Soon after, he started his own event, the 4th of July Picnic. It was wild, messy, and totally unlike anything else in country music at the time. And it became a tradition. With new energy and a new audience behind him, Willie finally walked away from RCA. He signed with Atlantic Records, their first country artist, and got something he never had before: full creative control. The result was Shotgun Willie, released in 1973. It didn't sell huge numbers, but critics loved it. More importantly, it felt real, raw, honest. Willie himself said, "That album cleared my throat." He followed that with Phases and Stages, a concept album about divorce told from both the man's and the woman's point of view. Again, not something Nashville would have gone for, but with Atlantic, he had room to breathe. He wasn't chasing hits. He was telling stories the way he wanted to tell them. Then came the game changer. In 1975, Willie signed with Columbia Records, but only under one condition: complete creative freedom. No one was allowed to tell him how to make his music. The first album he recorded there was Red-Headed Stranger. The label didn't like it at first. It sounded too stripped down, too quiet, too simple. But Willie and his close friend Waylon Jennings believed in it, and they were right. The album became a smash hit. The single Blue Eyes Crying in the Rain went to #1. For the first time, Willie Nelson wasn't just a songwriter behind the curtain, He was a star in his own right. The album was a turning point not just for him, but for the entire genre. It helped launch what became known as outlaw country. What was outlaw country exactly? It wasn't just about sound, it was about attitude. Artists like Willie Nelson, Waylon Jennings, Chris Christopherson, and Johnny Cash didn't want to play by Nashville's rules anymore. They wanted freedom in their music, their look, their lives, and fans loved it. It felt real, gritty, human. In 1976, Willie, Waylon, Jesse Coulter, and Tom Paul Glazer released Wanted, The Outlaws, the first country album to ever go platinum. It was official. The Outlaws had taken over. Willie kept the momentum going. He dropped albums like The Sound in Your Mind and The Troublemaker. He released Stardust in 1978, an album of old pop standards. Many thought it was a terrible idea. It was too far from country. But once again, Willie proved them wrong. Stardust became one of his most successful records ever. It stayed on the Billboard charts for over 10 years. But with fame came new problems. Willie found out his manager hadn't been paying his taxes. That led to a mess with the IRS that would follow him for years. Things got even more chaotic when a package of cocaine was sent from the manager's office to Waylon Jennings. The DEA got involved. Jennings was arrested. The manager's assistant, Mark Rothbaum, took the fall, and Willie, impressed by his loyalty, hired him as his new manager. Despite the legal chaos, the music never stopped. Willie kept writing, recording, and performing. He teamed up with Merle Haggard on Poncho and Lefty, scored more hits with songs like If You've Got the Money, I've Got the Time. And in 1982, he recorded Always on My Mind, a song that earned him 3 Grammy Awards and massive success. The world was finally seeing Willie Nelson, not just as a songwriter, not just as a performer, but as a movement, a rebel, a storyteller. A man who took his pain, his joy, his failures, and his freedom and poured it into music that could make you cry, smile, or just sit still and listen. So yes, he'd fallen. His marriage had ended. His house had burned down. His finances had crumbled. But none of that stopped him. In fact, it pushed him to become something more. The fire didn't destroy Willie. It rebuilt him. From the ashes of Nashville's tight grip, Willie Nelson rose again, this time as himself. No rules, no mask, just Willie, and the world loved him for it. Willie Nelson is 92 years old. Let that sink in. 92, and still going, still singing, still touring, still showing up with that worn-out guitar, a wide grin, and a voice that somehow feels like home. In a world where artists fade fast and disappear quietly, Willie's still standing, like an old oak that's seen every storm but never stopped growing. He recently released his 77th studio album, and the title couldn't be more fitting: The Last Leaf on the Tree. It's simple, honest, and deeply emotional. When you listen to it, you don't hear a man trying to hang on. You hear a man who's still completely alive. The kind of alive that only comes from living a full, complicated, beautiful life. In interviews, he talks about aging with calmness, even humor. "I'm 91 plus," he said with a smile, "and I don't feel bad. I don't hurt anywhere, so I'm not worried about dying." Then, as always, he added a joke. "Physically, I'm in good shape. Mentally, that's another story." That's classic Willie, humble, funny, and completely at peace with himself. But this isn't just another chapter in a long career. This feels different. There's something more intimate about this part of his journey. The songs on The Last Leaf are filled with reflection about time, loss, love, and what it means to be the last one standing. And in Willie's case, he truly is. So many of his close friends and musical brothers are gone now. Waylon Jennings, Merle Haggard, Johnny Cash, Chris Christopherson. Together, they created something that changed country music forever. They lived hard, wrote honestly, and played with soul. But now, it's just Willie, the last leaf. And somehow, he's still singing as strong as ever. That title track, Last Leaf, says it all. "I'm the last leaf on the tree. The autumn took the rest, but it won't take me." It's not defiant, it's not sad. It's steady, like someone who knows his time will come, but isn't in a rush. He's still got things to say, still got music to share, still got people to make smile. Even now, his schedule is packed. He joined Beyoncé on her 2024 album Cowboy Carter, lending his voice to 2 short interludes. He performed with Bob Dylan at the Outlaw Music Festival. he headlined shows. He kept showing up for the causes he believes in, like Farm Aid, which he co-founded decades ago to support small family farmers. He's also continued working with his sons, Lucas and Micah. They play with him on stage and in the studio, helping keep that signature Willie sound alive. You can tell how much it means to him to share that time with his family. It's not just music, it's a connection, a legacy being passed on, not through words, but through shared melodies. Willie still plays his famous guitar Trigger, that same old Martin N20 acoustic, covered in signatures, dents, and stories. He doesn't have a set list when he performs. He just feels the room and plays whatever comes to him. The only rule? He always opens with Whiskey River. Every single time. In many ways, he's still the same Willie. Still wearing his bandana, still cracking jokes, still rolling joints. But there's a softness now too. A weight in his voice when he talks about friends who've passed. A deeper meaning in his words when he sings about time slipping away. He recently spoke about Chris Christopherson, who passed away in 2024. "He was a great friend of mine," Willie said. "We made a lot of music and a lot of memories." You could hear the grief in his voice, but also the gratitude. He doesn't take any of it for granted, and while most people in their 90s are resting, Willie's still releasing albums. He's working on number 78. No one knows when it'll come out, or what it'll sound like. But if there's one thing we can bet on, it's that it'll be 100% Willie. Honest, heartfelt, and unlike anything else. People often ask how he keeps going. Maybe it's the music, maybe it's the weed, maybe it's just who he is. Willie doesn't overthink it. He simply wakes up, does what he loves, and stays true to himself. When asked if he'd ever want a movie made about his life, like Bob Dylan's, he laughed and said, "I've heard talk about it, but I'm not through with it yet." And just like that, he said everything. He's not done. Not even close. So here he stands, at 92, the last leaf on the tree. He's seen generations come and go, seen the world change again and again. And through it all, he stayed the same. Humble, grounded, and full of life. Willie Nelson isn't just surviving, he's still thriving, still giving, still loving the road, the crowd, the music. And maybe that's what keeps him going. He never lost the joy. The seasons may come and go, the leaves may fall, but for now that last leaf is holding strong, and we're lucky to still be here, to watch it dance in the wind.